know it's not healthy.
I could tell even when I was eating this that it, like, obviously it's not good for me.
One day you look in the mirror and say, what has become of me? Perhaps this day is for you. You're watching this video and you decided, well, I can't do this no more. Coach Greg, and in today's video, we're going to find out why fat people get so bloody fat. What exactly are they eating? And in comparison, what do thin people eat? You know, people who are in shape. In this video, you're going to be shocked at the amount of food, the calories, the junk that people actually eat, while at the same time, you're going to understand that it's not actually their fault. I'm going to tell you who's to blame, who's not to blame. We're going to learn how to eat a healthy diet to stay in a calorie deficit, what you can do, the tricks of the trade. And so let's just jump right into it.
My starting weight, 171.6. Ethan's starting weight, 442.2.
Now remember, he's 440 pounds, but he's already down 220. And so he's already gotten halfway there. And so this is amazing. He's clearly doing the thing, but it could be so much better. There's something I'm going to tell him to do that he hasn't thought of for some reason, and it literally will make the difference between him losing another 200 pounds versus him struggling to maintain.
Starting with the most important meal of the day, breakfast. Ethan, are you excited?
I don't know what I'm looking at here, man.
And so Casey Kelly, who knows a lot about dieting, has a great diet. He is cooking some healthy recipes. He's clearly a competitor. I've done a video on him in the past. Remember, he's 100% natural. And so he's teaching him the tricks of the trade.
250 grams of egg whites, 2 whole eggs, some tomatoes, some green onions. It's only 299 calories and 40 grams of protein.
Bro, do you know how much protein and volume you can get for just 300 calories? In comparison to the shit that you're making me, if you follow my diet and you eat as much as you can, you'll never weigh 660 pounds. It's impossible. You can't do it. It's essentially the same thing I've been teaching you guys from my cookbook for several years now. Low-calorie, delicious meals for the big eater.
3 apple Gouda brats, 5 scrambled eggs, and a mound of cheese.
And this is 1,800 calories.
1,800 calories and over 100 grams of fat. Is there actually a need? Bro, what's with all the cheese? One small tweak. If he were to convert this high-fat cheese into fat-free cheese or low-fat cheese, he automatically would lose weight. It's the little things that really do add up. These are so simple to do, and so you don't have to stop eating the foods that you love. You just make them lower in calories.
The crazy part about this, they're the same amount of volume, and it's 6 times the amount of calories.
Same volume, 6 times more calories, more fat in breakfast than I eat in my entire day. In fact, probably double the amount of fat that I eat in a day. And so if you remember, fat has 9 calories per gram in comparison to carbs and protein only having 4. And so if you eat a lot of fat, it gets highly condensed. The bowls are the same size, but one has 300 calories and the other has 1,800. And so imagine if he tried to gain all that weight and instead was eating that lower calorie bowl. He would have to eat 6 of them to equal the same amount of calories. And so most likely, if he had 6 of those bowls in front of him, he would have probably stopped at 3 or 4, would have been full at 9 to 1,200 calories, and he would have called it a breakfast. But instead of that, he has the high calorie, high palatable foods, lots of carbs, lots of fat, and this is why he's so grossly overweight.
I utilize fasting a lot to lose weight. I was told that, like, with the fat burning, like, oh, go that long without eating, you burn more calories or whatever, you know?
And so the first years of his life, he had no clue what he was doing. He clearly wasn't watching Coach Greg, and so he fasted. 20 hours a day, he was eating nothing, and he had a 4-hour window. And now I believe he gets up and has a 30-gram protein shake, and that's it. Does any of this sound sustainable? You only can eat within a 4-hour window. You're getting up for breakfast. You only get a 30-gram shake. Bro is 6'4". He's a very large man. He's clearly starving all the time. He's suffering. And so how long will he be able to do this? I mean, he's done a great job so far. He's suffered his way through 2 years of losing over 200 pounds. But eventually, all good things come to an end. If he doesn't find a solution, of which I'm going to explain it, he's only going to end up losing the weight and then eventually regaining it. We've all seen how this pans out on the 600-pound loser. You remember that show? The person who loses the most amount of weight then wins all this kinds of money, and then they regain all of it a couple of years later. that is in his future. I can forecast it because once the dopamine stops, I mean, think of it. He's getting millions of views watching these videos. All the fans commenting, supporting him. They're there for him. Then what? Without the fans, without the comments, the dopamine of seeing your body getting better all the time, once you just have to maintain, it's much more difficult.
And then we're going to dump an entire bag of Mexican cheese right on top.
Entire bag of Doritos, entire bag of Mexican
Yeah,
cheese.
it's simple.
And so imagine thinking that eating an entire bag of Doritos required an entire bag of cheese. And so this is just stupidity, not knowing what he's doing. But remember, he still has to be able to consume these calories. And so there's something wrong with his genetics. His ghrelin hormones, it's through the roof. A normal human being cannot eat this much food or else they'll feel full. They'll want to throw up. But in his case, remember, he was 200 pounds at only 9 years of age. That doesn't happen by accident. A normal kid, if you say eat whatever you want, you can have cakes, candies, cookies, whatever. They're not going to be 200 pounds at 9. You can't really blame him, but you probably could blame his parents. And so, A, if you're this fat as a child, it's your parents' fault. And to me, this is child abuse and or neglect. Imagine you've got a kid, he's 8 and he's 180 pounds. You're thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't feed him all these nachos, candies, and so on. It's going to affect his life. I would rather see a parent giving an 8-year-old cigarettes than allowing them to eat to the point of getting to 200 pounds. And so I think everyone would assume that if a parent's giving their child alcohol and cigarettes at 8 or 9 years of age, that's bad, that they probably shouldn't have children. This is no different. And in fact, you could argue that it's actually worse.
I don't think you have enough sodium on that tray, dude. You gotta add some hot sauce on top.
Of course, you have to add some hot sauce on top. They're nachos. Let's go crazy. Sodium on top of your sodium.
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of talk about the sodium. The sodium, it's not really a big deal. For example, I add extra sodium all the time. I sweat a lot during my cardio. And so unless you have some pre-existing disease, heart problems and so on, it's okay to eat a lot of salt. Yeah, it can retain some water weight. And so if you have high blood pressure, it could be bad. But overall, it really is the calories. Chicken noodle soup is loaded in sodium, but it's not high in calories. And so if you're eating chicken noodle soup, you're probably going to be in a deficit and you're going to lose weight despite the fact that it's loaded in sodium. Remember, sodium doesn't make you gain fat. It can only help you to retain water, of which you should be sweating out anyway when doing your cardio each and every day.
I got some hot sauce on this bowl right here for you. This is my famous, what I call the Preington.
And so Casey's protein bowl, I mean, it looks absolutely delicious. The only problem is I would need a bigger bowl than that, but you can't go wrong. He's having the lettuce, which is low in calories and high in fiber. It adds a lot of volume and it adds some carbs from the rice. And of course, he's added his protein from meat. And so it's an amazing meal. And you can eat like that every single day. Now, it doesn't have to be that low in calories. It could be a little bit higher, but eating like Casey would be similar to eating like in my cookbook, except there's more delicious recipes like cakes, candies, French toast, you name it. Whatever your current favorite food is, it might be pizza, it might be nuggets, whatever. There's probably a recipe in here that has half of those calories. And so you get to eat what you want. It's just low in calories. If he was eating 8,000 calories a day in order to get up to 660 pounds, imagine if he ate the exact same meals, but they were lower in calories. He would be eating 4,000 calories a day. He probably would have gained weight till he got to 250 pounds, maybe 300, and it would have capped out at there. And so all you need to do is intelligently put your food together so that you experience cessation, being full, and you're not going to keep eating.
So would you say that's some sort of like addiction to food?
Oh, for sure.
Like just,
Absolutely.
you can't get enough.
Yeah, I mean, I was 200 pounds by the time I was 9.
It's more than just a food addiction. He's saying, I couldn't experience fullness. I had to eat so much food to even know what being full felt like. We're all born with a certain genetic set point for body fat. Some people it's very high and some people it's very low. Some people, they are never hungry. They look at food and they don't want to eat it. They eat half of a plate and they're done. I go to restaurants all the time and I'm eating food and I'm eating my second entree and my third because I'm trying to get full, and I'm watching other people, they're tapped out halfway through. Do you want dessert? Oh no, oh, my goodness. And I'm like thinking, what do you mean you don't want dessert? You're not hungry? I'm full. And I'm like, but you only ate half of your entree. I had 3 entrees and I'm still hungry. And so some people, they just don't know what it's like to have food noise, to have cravings, to always be hungry. And so if you're one of those people and you're probably weighing 300-400 pounds, you know. Every time you try to go on a diet, you're just too hungry. You can't stick to your diet. It's not fair. Now, many times it could be resolved just by getting the cookbook and learning how to eat properly. Like if you're eating extra barbecue sauce, salad dressings all the time, you're eating fatty condiments, you're having sugar drinks like regular pop instead of diet, you're eating Haagen-Dazs, you're having high-fat cheese, and you essentially just don't give a shit. You just eat like an asshole. Well, that is kind of on you. But if you're trying and you're still hungry, even with the cookbook, even though you're doing cardio, there is a better way.
I find myself, especially now that I'm conscious of it, constantly thinking about it.
Me too. Like I said, I haven't had a nacho cheese Dorito in that long.
These guys, the two of them, one's fat, one is not. They're constantly thinking about food. It's on their brain all the time. One, because he's probably leaner than his body wants him to be. And the other, he just wasn't dealt a great hand. He was born to be 6'4", which is a freaking huge advantage. But he's very hungry. And so he's morbidly obese, which isn't fair. It isn't cool. It isn't good. And how hard is it to diet when you're always hungry? He's always thinking about it. The food noise. You're trying to do some work. You're studying. You're trying to go about your day, trying to be productive, and all you can think of is some chips. Ice, cakes, candies, cookie, burgers, fries, you name it. Imagine if you could turn that down. Turn the dial down a little bit. Hey, it's 25 degrees, it's too hot. What if I could put on some air conditioning? That is what it's like when you take a GLP. A GLP, for example, Ozempic, and or tirzepatide. These are doctor-prescribed medications. It's made for people like this. Technically not made for Casey. He's already in shape. He doesn't need it. It's not made for Coach Greg. I don't need it. But if you're morbidly obese, it's killing you. It's a slow death. If you take these drugs, it turns down the food noise and you're no longer this hungry. Remember, if you're 660 pounds, you didn't get there from just eating like a piece of shit. You got there for eating like a piece of shit because you were hungry. If you ever tried to force feed yourself and you're full and then you try to eat more, you're tapped out, you physically can't do it. They could say, hey, I'll give you $1,000 per one slice of pizza that you eat. Eventually, you just can't eat anymore and you cannot gain any weight. For him, $1,000 per slice? How many extra pizzas do you got? Because I ain't getting full. And so they continue to gain weight. It's not his fault. And so that's why they made these medications. Obesity, it's a disease. Not saying that you can't beat the disease without the medication. You can if you have extreme willpower. But there's medication to make it easier. And so if you're having difficulties, why not go to Algo RX? Guys, these are doctors who prescribe medications, legal medications, and they're very competitively priced, much lower than their competition. For example, Merrick Health. Please compare prices, price shop. Use code Greg for 10% off. And while there, you get your blood work to see, are you healthy? Is there something wrong? Perhaps your thyroid's out of whack. Do you need telmisartan? Is there high blood pressure going on? Do you need baby? What do you need? And so if you are struggling, and for Ethan, 100% he should be on this medication. If there was ever a person that could benefit, he's the one. The same thing could be said for our good friend Brentley G. We all love Brentley G. It was very similar, very difficult for him. He struggles a lot. He's always hungry. He doesn't get full. And so he most recently started using tirzepatide, which is dialing down the food noise and making it easier to stick to his diet.
You just put me through torture. I think I'm about to do the same thing to you.
Can you take it easy on me?
I think you're gonna need this pre-workout.
For Ethan in the gym, what you really would benefit most from, in my opinion, is GO2 Max. It gives you more endurance, more stamina. You can recover faster. And so imagine having more energy all day long. You're doing your cardio, perhaps after 30 minutes, you want to tap out, you're tired. With this, you're going to double it. You go for an hour, you burn double the calories. And after your workout is over, say you were lifting weights, you still have energy to carry out the rest of your day. Imagine that feeling. It essentially gives you your second win. And on top of that, the Turk Builder Match, you all know that this is legit. And so if you want the ultimate natty stack, this is what you get. And in addition to that, if you're not up for the Ozempic yet, maybe you're hesitant, you're concerned, well, you can start with GLP Max. Now, it's not as potent as Ozempic, but it reduces your appetite by approximately 28%. You go from an 8 out of 10 hunger to about a 6. Instead of wanting to eat your hand off, it's now manageable. You still have to try, but it's a lot easier. And is that not what you want? You just want a little bit of push, drive, a little bit of help to get you to lock in and stick to your diet. Code Greg, 15% off.
And funny enough, our dinners are both chicken and rice. But don't worry, there is a large calorie discrepancy here.
And honestly, if he had eaten all his meals like this is 3 cups of rice and chicken with some sauce, 1,500 calories. This is not all that bad. I mean, it's a lot of food, but it's certainly not ridiculous. I think all that's really missing from this guy's diet would be adding in some fruits and vegetables. Imagine if you had a little bit less rice and had some peas, some corn, some asparagus, you name the vegetable, and then had some more of the fruits for dessert. Rather than having chocolate milkshakes and so on, if he had some more fruits for dessert, some strawberries, a kiwi, it would make his diet so much better and much lower in calories, allowing him to be satiated.
I actually have a special ingredient. You get a guac cup with this for some nice healthy fats.
I do the same thing. I got the guac circles. I dip my chicken in that. And so this is right up my alley. This chicken and rice meal with the guacamole, if they had some mushrooms or some beets or some kind of vegetables with that and a little bit of dessert, some fruit after, this would be a typical Coach Greg meal.
I ain't eating a single veggie today, but it's okay. We'll go with this.
Vegetables definitely weren't a priority back then for me.
Priority, or did they not exist?
They might not have existed.
And so you could see, vegetables, fruits, not a priority. Essentially, they didn't exist. And whose fault is that? When a 9-year-old is 200 pounds, are they the ones going to the grocery store and selecting what they're buying and what they're going to eat? Of course not. It's all up to their parents. And so when you're young, obesity, it's not a choice. It's not his choice. At 9 years old, when he weighed 200 pounds, that wasn't his choice. I most certainly don't think he wanted to be 200 pounds, but his parents, they just didn't care or they didn't know better. Not everyone is educated. Perhaps they didn't know. They didn't know that 200 pounds at 9 is going to slowly be killing him. And so perhaps they did the best, but it wasn't good enough. But once you're an adult, once you buy your own foods, you can undo those damages. Now, it's going to be hard because you don't know what's low in calories. Perhaps you don't know. Maybe you thought cheese is healthy because it's protein, but you weren't told about how much fat is in it. Or perhaps they told you that trail mix is great for a diet because it has nuts. You don't really know because you haven't watched Coach Greg. Now, if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, you could click the subscribe button right now. And I have over 4,000 videos. Not all of them are natty or nuts. There's only about 120 of those. There's a ton of videos explaining how to lose weight, keep it off for the rest of your life. This is perhaps what I'm most known for, although people tend to focus on the drama, but it's all about losing weight and being your best self. And so if you want to subscribe, and perhaps you can start looking at some of these videos, because this is what I do best. Remember, 4,000 plus videos. I've done more videos in a year than most people would do in a lifetime.